Welcome back to the Peak Performance Podcast. As always, I'm Shane Kelly, and I'm joined today with Coach Kevin Hopp, head cross country coach at Stevens Point High School in Wisconsin. He is a 8-time state champion, 5-time runner-up, and NFHS National Coach of the Year. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Shane.
Of course. So, a bit about what I'm doing is I'm interviewing coaches from around the country that all have NFHS recognition that they're running their programs the right way. All these coaches also have the success, the wins to back it up, but there's a lot of programs that can win. It doesn't mean you're winning the right way. So that's where my selection criteria got in a little bit. Um, but to get started, I just want to ask you a little bit about why you coach. What made you want to get into this, and why specifically high school?
Well, first of all, thanks again for having me. I think it all starts my family when I was young. We just very into athletics. My parents both grew up doing stuff. My mom was would have been even before most girls had sports around, but she was involved in that, and so they just got us involved in kind of everything. I have an older sister and two younger brothers, and they just got us involved in youth softball, youth baseball. There was a running club in town. There was the hoops club. There was whatever. They took us to it, and we tried it. And when they could, they tried to coach, right? They tried to help out, but if not, they were always out in the yard with us. And so I guess sports for our family was just something we did, something my cousins did, and kind of extended family too. So just something that I've always done, I've loved, and that's kind of, I guess, where my love first started for sports, and then coaching. I think that comes from a little bit why I wanted to get into it is I just, maybe it's cliche, but I had just a lot of good coaches when I was younger, and I wanted to do that. I kind of when I first went to college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to get into physical therapy, kind of the sports kind of theme, and also helping people. Kind of realized that when I was going into that I would be working probably in a hospital, maybe not in the sports portion of it, and that kind of then steered me towards the education part of it. And so yeah, I've been teaching sixth grade and now for 20 years, and now the last 6 years I've taught seventh grade math, and just kind of been coaching the whole time, and had some great examples, starting with my parents, and then onto the coaches I had in youth sports and through junior high and high school.
I love even though physical therapy and teaching and coaching on paper seem very different, they're really not. Both are service valued fields, giving back to youth and sport related. So I can see where that bridge was kind of formed.
Yeah.
That's cool to hear.
Yeah, so it's one of those I've always just I love watching sports. I love playing card games and board games with our kids and my wife, and just things like that, and just competing and trying to figure out how to do things better, and that's something that we've kind of always done too. That goes back to my youth as well. We played a lot of games around the table, or when we were camping, or prior to the days where you sat on your phone and just didn't talk to anyone in the car. When we were in the car, you had the choice. You either listen to the oldies that mom and dad had on, or you played a game because you didn't really want to listen to the oldies. So
Well, how would you describe your coaching style? And do you think your athletes would agree with the coaching style? Are you a really intense coach, kind of on them? Are you more athlete friendly? How how would you describe it?
I would say I'm pretty laid back, but there is structure to it, right? They know that when it's time to work, we're going to work, and we're going to give it a good hard effort. But in the downtime, or in the meantime, we're kind of getting ready to go and stuff. We're going to have some fun. So I don't want to say that I'm intense, but I can bring some intensity. I do think that that's something that you need to have, but that needs to be brought in at an appropriate time. Kids will see through that if you're always intense, or always saying that this is the most important. This is the most important. Well, they know it's not. They can figure that out. So I would say generally, on a day to day at practice, fairly laid back. We have a purpose. We have a plan. But we let them have some fun, because we also know it's time for them. They worked hard at school. At least we want them to. And so they need a little time to kind of decompress and be with their friends. So, and I would think they would. I would think they would. I've often said to uh, some of my assistant coaches that if someone came and watched our practice, especially the first probably 20 to 30 minutes of it, they'd wonder how we were any good. They would just be like, "Are you kidding me? This is what we're going to watch. We're going to watch these guys practice because we do. We let our guys, we're stretching to start, and they're talking, they're kind of doing it. But it's their time to decompress, their time to catch up with friends, to catch up with kids. At our in our school district, we have two seventh through ninth grade buildings, and then one high school that is 10 through 12. And I guess I'll maybe touch on this a little bit more later if the question comes up. But even though our high school program is only 9 through 12, our seventh and eighth graders come up and run and practice with us. So our practice has seventh through 12th graders at it. And they have to get everybody there. And so while we're getting everybody there, there's a little bit of downtime and time for them to kind of catch up and have fun. And yeah, but when it's time to work, once we get to the park, as I say, once we get to the park, now they know our warm up's over, all that, and then they're pretty serious. But I try to, it's running, right? They have to want to be there. There's not. I played basketball and other sports growing up. Unfortunately, in some of those, I think some kids can't always motivate themselves, and in running, generally, most kids can motivate themselves. So that helps the cause, I guess.
Well, high school sports, well, sports at all level, but especially high school, they should be fun. Yes, there's a time to get, serious, get intense, but the kids are there for fun. And yes, winning is fun, but you're never going to win if the athletes are loathing coming to practice every day, if it's not an enjoyable process for them.
Yeah,
So,
and to that point, like I mean, we have it's cross country, and we had this past year we had 66 ninth through 12th graders out for the boys cross country team, and then
wow.
our junior high we had 40 guys. So we have 106 guys at practice, which is a whole circus upon itself, as you can imagine.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but it is as I kind of told you, it's organized chaos. We have an organizational system that works for us and it works for the kids, and it usually takes the new guys, a week or so to kind of learn it, and then they're kind of in, and our other guys take care of it. And to your point, right, it's got to be fun because otherwise, how do 106 kids show up to run 5 to 9 miles every night? That's not something
Yeah.
that the average person signs up for unless they're having some fun, right? Unless they're enjoying it, and I think that we provide that for them. I really do. So
I also love the fact that you invite the younger kids that aren't yet in high school to come join. Um, it's a topic we talk about a lot. Studying sports psychology, and it's related to something called the small town effect. In small towns, there's less athletes. So rather than pooling from a group of a couple thousand, you're pooling from a group of a couple hundred. So you end up with younger kids playing with older kids. And the research backs it. There's so much beneficial there, not only for their own enjoyment and pride in the team, but also in development. I mean, you get a 13-year-old practicing with an 18-year-old, the 13-year-old's going to learn a lot that otherwise they wouldn't have. And the
that's
18-year-old
interesting.
gets the
Oh,
benefit of giving back.
correct.
They
And
feel
that's
that
I
pride in giving back.
Yeah, that's actually like I think part of our team culture. I know you're gonna ask these questions later, so I don't want to jump ahead too much. And but that's I think one of our biggest things is right. And I get it. It might not work for all sports, although I think you can do something with all sports. I really do think you could make something work. But for us, it does. Like, yeah, we have 12-year-olds showing up the first day of practice as incoming seventh graders. Never have they, some of them we get some kids that have never been out for an organized sport before in their life showing up on our team, 100 and some guys from 12 to 18. And we have a pretty good program, pretty good team. They're jumping into the deep end, so to speak, and our kids just take them in. They just bring them in, and that's interesting. I wrote down small town effect. I hadn't heard of that research, but I might look into that because I do agree with what you just said. That I think that's what I see, and that's what we see at our program. And I didn't realize there was a term for it. So I'm
Yeah,
learning something today.
that's just one of the small elements behind it. Basically, it's called that because there's a disproportionate amount of pro and Olympic athletes that come from small towns rather than big
Okay.
cities. So
That's
then looked
interesting
into
too.
why, and it's really the lack of kids is a big reason why. People have to play a ton of different sports, which actually makes them better at whatever sport they end up deciding to go serious in. The cross age practices, the community element, there's a ton that goes into it. I would recommend reading about it. It's really interesting.
I mean, if you have one of the links, I wouldn't mind just sending it to me. Otherwise, I'll go look for it too. So,
I'll look through my notes
okay, that'd be
after this
awesome.
call and I can send you over some
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, not a problem. That'd be great if you could. If not, don't worry about it. I'm sure you're busy.
Well, you talked about culture already, so let's get straight into it. How would you describe your team culture?
We're welcoming. We're cross country, so we're probably not always going to get the most athletic kids. A lot of times, those kids have been picked and kind of shepherded to some other sports, unfortunately. But we're going to take anyone we get, and we're going to try to turn them into a runner and turn them into the best runner they can. So, as I said, kind of a little bit before that first day of practice, we have a meeting a week before, and we always have. I know who the seventh grade parents are right away for two reasons. One, I've never met them before, and then two, you can just see the look on their face when you start telling them that they are coming to a practice with sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and you can just tell they're nervous and apprehensive about that, and as they should be, and I'm okay with that. But I always try to tell them right then and there, like, promise me, I promise you, give us a week and we will take care of them and you will see what's going to happen here. And typically what happens is our guys bring them in. Some of it's kind of cultivated by us. With first week we play a game called Know Your New Guy. They get a little bit of candy if they're able to know all the new guys' names by the end of the week. But typically we got 30 to 35 new guys, and these guys got to learn their names, and we do it on Thursday. So they have in essence 3 days to kind of learn their names, and our guys take it pretty seriously. Uh, I think, off the top of my head, I think last year we had like five guys get perfect scores, and then like another like a dozen only get one wrong, and whatever. And they get a box of theater candy, so it cost me $20 to kind of help build this culture of this welcoming. But our guys take it seriously, and then that just brings these guys in, and then right the as you said, kind of in your study there, it kind of builds upon itself, right? The older guys teach the younger guys, and now when the younger guys become old guys, they know that they are. So I guess to answer your original question, I would say, we're very welcoming. We're very encouraging. We're trying to get these kids, like I said, some of them are coming in, never running before, trying to get them to run 3 miles that first day. And the other thing is, I would definitely say our guys are hardworking, and even the new guys, until maybe it takes them a week or two to figure it out, but if they stick around, they're going to figure it out. No matter if they're a top of the varsity guy or a back end JV guy, that they're going to work hard, and they do. It's amazing. Like our guys that are running 30 minutes or 5K are working just as hard, and sometimes harder than our guys who are running sub 16 5Ks, and our guys respect that. So
Well, I like that the whole meet the new guy because cross country is, yes, it's a team sport at the high school level, but it really is individual. This is what I run. What your teammates run doesn't affect your time at all. It's a solo sport. So by welcoming the new people and forming those connections early, you're kind of pushing home with your athletes like, yeah, we're trying to make you better, but the team comes first. You have to welcome everybody, people that are going to be seniors when you're long gone. It's a good way to kind of bring everybody together, which I think that's beautiful.
yeah, I appreciate that. So I don't know if I finished, but yeah. So like my story is like with the parents, they drop off the first day, and they're usually standing there waiting for them at the end of practice because they want to make sure they pick them up. They're not waiting and whatever, and that's fine. But usually by day 4 or 5, now they're standing there waiting, but the kid kind of waves them off and is like, "Hey, I'm good. I'm all right. Like give me some time." And then after that, the next week, a lot of times the parents have already decided to let them carpool with somebody or ride their bike with somebody, or they just sit in their car and wait for them to come. They know they were done running 45 minutes ago, but they're just hanging out talking to their new buddies, and that's what we love as coaches to see. It's like, and just how these guys kind of take them all in, and we take all kinds. Trust me, with 106 guys, we have guys of every varying ability level, every varying interest, and anything in between.
Well, do you have any explicit team values that you share with your athletes? I know you talked about hard work. You already talked about being welcoming, positive. Are these values ones that you kind of share with the coaching staff, or are you upfront with your athletes about these?
We talk. I mean, we have like so our typical practice starts. They check in, they kind of do what they do while we wait for everyone to get there. Then we do a little light stretching, and then when we're done with that, we do a little bit core work, and then we talk. The coaches talk to the kids, and we kind of talk about what we're doing, and we always try to throw in some little story or some little value or something that's important to us to make sure that they understand. Right? Sometimes we can do that with a story about what happened the week before at a meet or at practice, and kind of recognize some kids for showing that. Sometimes we tell some stories from prior years, and then what's really cool is the guys I coach with, all of them are former runners. So right, that in itself I think shows the value that we have as a team, that we value each other and we value each other's opinions, and the kids see us talk to each other. They know that there's not just one coach, that yeah, there might be a head coach, but we're all talking about it. We all know them, and so I think to ask that, are the team values? Yeah, you got the hard work, you got all that, but we talk about the other stuff. We try to point out when we see things happening so that we can kind of keep that momentum going towards that. And so I think the nice thing too is that, like you said, the guys who are our assistants are former runners, and so they all have gone through it as a seventh grader, as a high school guy, and now as a coach. And so they get what we're doing, and they just kind of keep it going. And so if a kid comes and asks one of us, they come and ask me, or they come and ask one of the other coaches if I'm busy, and they're basically going to get the same answer. And how often does that happen? I don't know. A lot of times I hear horror stories from kids that play other sports that, like, well, yeah, I asked one coach and he said I was going to be starting, and then the other coach told me I wasn't, and that's not really a good look, and that's not good for the kid. And so yeah, if they ask us stuff, they're pretty much getting the same answer on that. And yeah, I mean, I think we do lead by example. I think we kind of, when we show we're all concerned about each one of those kids individually, and it's I think that's the most amazing thing about our coaches is they know every single one of those 106 kids, and not only do they know their name, which is the bare minimum, right, in my mind, but they can tell you pretty much what kind of time they can run, for what their best time is, what they ran last week, and some interesting things about their family. And obviously the older ones we know a little more than the younger ones, but that's, I think, kind of demonstrates the value we have in them and the culture we have. So
I mean, it's crazy how much a program can benefit just from coaches that care.
yeah,
It's because if the coaches they can pretend to care, but it's not going to have the same effect. When you have coaches that genuinely care, not just for the program, but for each and every athlete that comes out, the kids feel that. The kids know that if something goes wrong, the coach has my back. And the sport becomes a place where they're safe.
yeah.
They're having fun, they're safe, and you're able to get the most out of them by doing that.
Yeah, and circling back on your question about, like, my coaching style and am I intense? And the answer is, on race day, I'm a little more intense than I am at practice, but it's because I want them to be successful, right? It's not because I need them to be. I just want them to experience a success from their hard work. And then so right, we know, like I said, the coaches know, like, it doesn't matter if it's our first guy or our middle guy or our last guy. We have a pretty good idea that Johnny's running great today. Like, it's like he's going to break 20 minutes for the first time, and so we're intense in that last half mile. Like, hey, you're there, you got it. You just got to stay on it, like lock on someone, and that's where our intensity comes. But it's an intensity of, like, because of of how much we want them and care about them to see their goals be met, not because it helps us in any way. Because if I'm honest, and this will sound bad maybe to someone, but a guy breaking 20 minutes isn't helping our team directly win a meet. But it's helping that kid a whole bunch because he set his goal to do that. He's worked with his teammates to do that, and he has set his heart to do that. And when he does that, you can just see it on his face. And I better be intense about that for him, because I want to be excited for him, just like I'm excited for the guy who won the meet or whatever else. So yeah, to circle back on that, I think there is a little bit of intensity to me in that case. But I also think that that comes into what we want our kids to kind of do and value, that if we're going to race, we're going to do this to the best of our ability. So,
One of the things that you mentioned is in the intensity, it seems like it's an intensity of positivity. It's not an intensity of belittlement, which is a massive difference. You can and there's nothing wrong with being intense if it's used properly, which from your story it sounds like it does.
well, yeah, thank you. I agree with that. I mean, that's a little side story, and I have a side story kind of probably for everything, but I'll give you one. Like a couple of
No, go
years ago at
ahead.
the state meet, we're Division 1, and so that's the largest schools in Wisconsin. And in D2, there was a race, and one of our former runners, who his brother was running for us, and his dad were watching the D2 race, and unfortunately, they heard a little intensity from a different coach in a different division. That, to your point, yeah, it was belittling, and they were just shocked by it, and they shared it with us, and I was like, ooh, that's not good, right? And they was just like, they're just their mind, they're like, they came and told us later, like, we just had to share that with you because like our minds are blown watching that. Like we couldn't imagine ever that happening here, and it's like, no, that's not going to happen here. Like, kids have bad days. I have bad days, right? No one needs to tell you if you have a bad day. When you're a runner, you know if you had a bad day, right? So you don't need someone else out there. Like, you just encourage them the best you can, and then pick up the pieces when you're done and try to help them out. And that's usually the kid who they might need a little time when they're first done, but you don't want to give them too much time because you want to get over there and let them know that you appreciate the effort that they put in, and that was the best they had that day, and there'll be another day, and right, and that's not the end all be all. So we definitely, yeah, I appreciate you kind of mentioning and noticing that, because we really try to accentuate the positives and what's going on and how they're doing out there. So
I have a very similar story from this past season. I just finished up my first year as a head coach, freshman soccer at a high school in the area, and I'm studying coaching. I'm studying sports psychology. This is in my day to day of what we should actually be doing as coaches. And I had a situation with another head coach where he he was intense, but he was belittling, and like he verbally assaulting his own team, my team, the refs, and eventually I stepped in because he was saying a lot of stuff to me, which I don't really care. I can hear
yeah,
it. But then he started talking to one of my players. And that's when a switch flipped for me. It's the most upset I've been in a long time. Because how a coach feels justified talking to a 14-year-old boy like that, I don't know.
yeah, especially when
Um,
he doesn't know. I
yeah,
mean, even worse,
it's
although
not
it's bad enough.
it's bad enough as is, but it wasn't even his player.
Yeah,
There was a whole dispute between the refs, coaching staff, principals got involved, and I had parents from the other team that went up and shook my hand after. Like, thank you for stepping up. This guy is making my kid want to quit the sport.
yeah, which is
And it's
not good.
bad. That's the last thing we want as coaches.
Yeah,
But that coach ended up losing the job, which unfortunate for him, but it was deserved.
yeah. I mean, I think ultimately you see, unfortunately, right, you see these bad behaviors on the news because it is newsworthy, and that usually draws more views than the good stuff that could be shown. So you
Yeah.
do see them, and yeah, unfortunate for that person, but in the end, probably good for the kids.
Yeah. When we played them for the second time, they had a new coach, and the new guy was really respectful.
That's good.
And me and him talked for like 20 minutes after the game, and he seemed like a better person for the athletes to look up to.
Yeah,
But getting back to a more happy, positive
yeah,
conversation, um, you were talking about how you support each and every one of your athletes, even the ones that may not be the reason you win the meet. A coach I talked to a few weeks back, Coach Ernie Brooks, he's a track and field coach in Oregon.
yeah,
He mentioned that he does PR shirts for his team. So it's his way of kind of congratulating each and every one of the athletes, even the worst thrower, worst sprinter that they have. If they break their own PR in a meet, they get celebrated. I just
Yep.
That's one of the coolest things I heard of. And cross country track, there's a lot of overlaps. I wanted to share that with you. If that's an idea you want to steal, go for it.
We we do some similar things. Cross country is a little tough because different courses, different conditions,
Oh,
different
true.
PR, right? But we have some we give out some white tuxedo shirts sometimes to guys for running good
That's
races.
awesome.
So they'll wear around their white tuxedos, and there's one meet every year that guys, then it's like one of our longest trips of the year. So our guys that have had them will tell all the new guys that have them, like, hey, bring your white tuxedo because we're wearing those out to dinner on that day because it's a long trip. So they bring those out, yeah, things like that, but similar type things, right? You do things to recognize all the kids, not just the top ones. Especially, the top ones are going to get recognized enough
Yeah.
because they're winning meets or they're on the varsity or whatever. It's all those guys, and what I love about it is our guys, especially our seniors. I can't say that our freshmen and sophomore are quite uh, mature is not the right word, but right, they just don't have the ability to kind of see past their group sometimes. Whereas our juniors and seniors, who are kind of the leaders of our team, they generally know which guys are running well, and they'll come up after a race and be like, "Hey, coach, did you see Billy? He ran great." It's like, yeah, Billy did run great. Like, how fast did he? Like, they already know that he set a PR. They have no idea like what he did or how fast maybe, but they know that he ran well. It's like, yeah, he broke 19 for the first time. He went 18:47. Like, that's awesome. And they'll go. And so our juniors and seniors are kind of really in tune to that a lot of times. And especially like the one thing tricky about cross country is everyone's a little nervous before the race. So our guys, like, I like it when we start with our junior high and then our JV and our varsity last, because I like to think that our junior high guys can go out and kind of set the tone. And then our JV guys kind of, like, they go and run really well. And that kind of lets people, if they weren't thinking about us now, they're probably thinking if our JV guys ran well and our varsity guys go out and take care of business. But I know our varsity guys absolutely love when they run first because now they're not sitting nervous and whatever, because they'll still be cheering when the JV and junior high go first, but they also know that they have to kind of conserve some energy and stuff. But when they go first, man, they're flying around the course because now they're done, right? They get to be the guys who go and cheer and yell and scream, and they love going first in a race. So it's kind of fun to watch those small little things that most people don't even notice. That, yeah, whichever one of our teams go first, they like it a little more because then they're done with the race and then they can go out and cheer. We don't
I
have to
can only
worry about our
imagine how,
guys
yeah,
sitting back at the team camp. They're usually out of team camp as soon as that next gun goes off.
I can only imagine how good that must feel. If you're
Yeah,
like, say, last half mile of the race, you're exhausted, your brain starts telling you, I'm getting tired, I'm done. And then you get a group of your boys, cheering, yelling, celebrating you. I have to assume you'd get that second wind.
even if you are completely gassed, you try to find something, right, just for them. And I think that's been a big part of our success too. Is like our I mean, you watch most of the junior high kids, they're out there and well, their teammates are racing, so their teammates aren't cheering for them. And so they got their mom and dad, and maybe grandma and grandpa, and that's about it. Maybe a family friend. And our guys got 66 high school guys charging around the course, yelling at them and cheering for them, and their parents who come, like our high school parents will come to usually the junior highs first. They get there early because they want to cheer for those guys too. And so that's kind of just built upon itself. And you're right. I mean, when you have kind of run out of gas, you're going to find a way when there's guys giving you the, hey, let's get one more guy. So
Yeah, that's awesome. What advice would you give for an inexperienced coach, maybe in their first couple years, to help them improve their own team culture and find success at whatever sport or level that they are coaching at?
I think, first of all, give themselves grace. I think a lot of times, and myself probably included when I first started, is like you have this vision of what you want it to be, but it doesn't get there, maybe ever. But just to give yourself grace to know that it's going to take a little time to get there. And so I'd like to, I mean, generally, I mean, in most cases, I would say fewer rules are better. Obviously, you need to have team rules and things like that. But don't come in. I think if you come in as the hard, heavy-handed person, that usually turns kids off because whenever there's a new coach, they already have like their feelers out, I guess. They're already kind of a little bit leery of you unless they have some reason to know you from before, like you were the assistant or you coached at the junior high or you were there a few years before and took some time off for family or something. So I guess if you're a new coach, just like come with a positive attitude, come in trying to, with your ideas and what you want it to be, but give yourself some grace that it's not going to get there the first week and probably not the first year. And I would say even after 26 years of coaching and 23 at the same school, we're still kind of a work in progress. But we basically, I mean, we're where we want to be, but I think we can always get better. We can always, figure out some things and tweak some things. And so, yeah, I mean, just kind of get to know your kids. And then I guess the last thing on that is don't value the wins and losses. I know that's hard, especially depending on just we're competitive people. That's part of it. And then just depending on what situation you're in, sometimes maybe you've been told you need to win so much to keep the job or anything like that. I hope not at the high school level, but I think in some cases that happens. And but yeah, value the kids, value getting to know them because if you get to know them and you buy into who they are, they'll buy into what you are, and then they'll do more for you. And so that'd be my advice.
I just want to touch on that last part where you said don't value the wins. That's such a hard thing for coaches to do, but it really is an important message. Because if you value the athletes, value them as people, genuinely want them to grow and help them improve, the wins will kind of take care of themselves. You just have to go about it the proper way.
Yeah, and we've shared with our guys. I mean, the last few years we've had a really good string of good guys here, and but you know, there's always that chance we don't win, right? And we always try to tell them, especially going into a big meet, like this doesn't define who we are. You're still a great kid. Yes, you run, and that's part of what you do, but that's not who you are. Might be a big part of your identity, and it's a big part of my identity and what I do, but it's not who I am, right? And so I get it, it's tough, and it's always easier to teach a lesson when you win than to teach a lesson when you lose. Although sometimes I think the lesson is actually, if you go about it the right way, is able to be received better and learned better with a loss. So losing's okay, and I think that to what I said before, like so it's okay to want to win, and it's okay to not like to lose, but then take something from it and teach it in a proper way, so that the kids understand that you still value them and who they are and what effort they gave, not necessarily the outcome.
That's about perfect from a research perspective.
I let
It's
my wife know.
well, that's all I have for you today. I really appreciate you taking the time and talking to me. I've enjoyed this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed the opportunity and yeah, thank you. Have a good one. I hope this all goes well for you, and I hope what I had to say today is of value to somebody else out there.
Well, I can't speak for others. It was a value to me. I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna make sure to send you over some stuff on small town effect.
I would appreciate that. That'd be awesome. Thank you.
All right. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you again.
You too.